So yeah, so you got your GED.
Yeah, I got my GED. Didn't want to go through the whole.
So what did you do for after school? Did you go to work or?
No, I already was with my girlfriend, so we kind of hung out for a bit. And then I decided to get a job at through the employment office. So like I was only 17, 18. I think I was 18. Anyway, they got me a job through a program, a work program. I could work at a school, and they will pay me $300 a month.
Okay.
They would let me work at a school, so I remember doing that.
Did you work full time?
Yeah, it was a full-time job. I would work under somebody that was a regular employee there, and I would work under him, and I would be like his helper in janitorial services and junior high.
Okay.
So I worked there for like a year or so,
and you were, how long did you go out with the girl?
This girl I was with for 7 years.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
so
8 years.
So after 2 years being a janitor, as a janitor services, maintenance, whatever, what did you do after that?
I went to work for another, since I had this certificate, but I didn't really need it because I got hired anyway. I had this certificate that I had experience with janitorial. I know how to strip floors because the man that I was working at the junior high, he taught me how to use a buffer, and he taught me how to strip floors, which I didn't know. He said that, I even forgot today, he said that you have to lay out some kind of formula on the floor because it's wax, and that formula will tear up the wax and let it sit there, and then you go with the buffer and you buff it out. And then after you buff it out, you mop it up, and then you run a wet mop to clean out anything that's there, and then you lay out a coat of wax again. Then you lay out the coat of wax and you buff it out with a buffer. You could change the paddings on the buffer from a stripper, because it was like a sandpaper kind of padding, and you change it and you put a buffer, which is like a cotton, to buff it out. So he taught me all that.
So how long did you do it for?
Maybe not even a year.
And what next?
Oh, that was the janitorial. Which one? The one with the.
What did you do after janitorial?
That I did it with the semiconductor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was a big company, because they have these floors that they're all waxed. So I worked with them.
For how long?
Maybe about 2 or 3 years.
And after that?
And after that, I started using really heavy, and I started just really dropping out.
So how did you support yourself when you were using really heavy?
I started selling drugs.
Oh, so you were selling drugs and you were using drugs.
Because actually, when me and this girl were together, we moved from Morgan Hill, and she found out that I was using drugs, and because she was a normie, but she didn't know. And then
so when you say normie, she didn't use any drugs.
She smoked weed.
Okay. So yeah, because last time you said you were smoking weed. So at what time did you went from weed to other drugs?
Oh, way back about...
Still high school?
High school, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, high school. I started, like I said, I think I dropped, Because
you were traveling with your friends to
I think I left out when I went to San Francisco, I started using drugs, because like I said...
back in the day?
Yeah, there were a lot of drugs, and I started with maybe acid. There was a lot of acid in those days. And a lot of barbiturates. There was this barbiturates, they used to call them fender benders, because you would take about 2 of them and you would feel drunk. They were really strong barbiturates. They used to call them reds in those days. And I started messing around with those reds and acid and mushrooms and yeah, I started messing around with all this hallucination drugs.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely at 14 I graduated to using heroin. And then once I was with my girlfriend already, I never told her that I was on heroin.
So how did she find out?
She found me in the bathroom fixing one day.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was her reaction?
She said, get out.
She freaked out?
Yeah, she freaked out. Wow. She said, get out, get out.
So when you say fixing, you were injecting?
Injecting, yeah.
In your arms. Did she walk on you?
Yeah.
Wow.
So she said, get out. I got out and I started selling drugs. And like I said, when I was with her, we were in Morgan Hill. And then she moved to San Jose and I went and followed her. And I remember she said, well, you got to get away from those drugs. And I said, yeah, I don't know how it came about, but she went to San Jose and I kind of went with her. So I figured that if we moved from Morgan Hill, because we were living in Morgan Hill, from Morgan Hill to San Jose,
yeah,
we get away. So I moved to San Jose with her, and when I got to San Jose, we were living at this apartment, and we were doing pretty good. And then about a month went by, and then all of a sudden, you know how you go outside and you see your neighbors and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I seen this guy, and I started talking to him. His name was Robert. Mm-hmm. And we started talking, you know, like this and that, and then all of a sudden he said, "Yeah, I got pedazos. Pedazos mean ounces of heroin."
Mm-hmm.
So he said he's selling ounces of heroin, and I go, I just lit up. My eyes just lit up. Not literally, but my everything lit up, and I go, wow, ounces. So I told him, hey, I know a lot of people in Gilroy, in Morgan Hill, that will use that stuff. Mm-hmm. If you want, I could help you sell it. And he goes, yeah, could you do that? And I go, yeah. And then he started fronting me. Mm-hmm. He goes, you give an ounce of heroin and you put a bunch of, maybe another ounce of lactose, baby formula, the white beverage formula, and you mix it in a mixer and you get twice as much. And you cut it into little pieces, and then you put like a quarter ounce of a tablespoon into a balloon, and that's a bag. Mm. He said you could sell that for $20. Mm-hmm. So most likely you'll get, if you do that and get 2 and 2, you should get about $1,500 for a $400 ounce of heroin.
So you paid him $400?
I paid him $400 and I kept the rest, but I started making money. I noticed I bought some stuff. I bought a stereo for my house. I bought TV. I bought a dog that cost $300.
That was a lot of money back then.
Yeah, that was a lot of money. I bought a dog because my baby.
So how much was like $1,500 back then?
It was a lot of money.
Like a couple thousands now?
Yeah, a couple thousands. And I thought I was making money. I used to have a big old bundle of money and just wrap it in a rubber band. Mm-hmm. And I used to put it in my closet way in the back, and keep the heroin there too, and the money and the heroin. And I noticed I started making a lot of money, but after a while I started skimming because there was so much. I got carried away and I started using it. And I wasn't giving him his $400 no more.
Wow.
He was connected with the motorcycle gang.
So what happened when you didn't pay him?
He came to my house and looked for me, but I wasn't living with my wife.
Okay. So he couldn't find you?
He couldn't find me because I was living in. I wasn't living nowhere. I was just bouncing back and forth I was staying with
at
my
some
friend.
point you run out because she wouldn't give you anymore.
Yeah, at some point I did run out, and I finally, because I kept it up. I had money.
Yeah.
Of course I had money, but I didn't have enough to give him, and I didn't want to give him because that means I would have to give him the money, and then I was already buying, because he already cut me off. I was already buying off the streets.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
So after money ran out, everything, and I started stealing, and after that, I finally just went home to my wife,
Wow.
and that's when he found me. And they were gonna hurt me. That one guy that he was with wanted to hurt me, but he said no. My friend Robert really liked me because I don't know, he just liked me. So he said no, just we'll get that TV set, we'll get that stereo, we'll get because I had a couple of other stuff.
Yeah, so they just went through the house.
They went through the house and they got everything and they took off and they were satisfied, which was good for me. Which was good for me.
So you paid back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how was your wife when you came back?
She was okay, because I told her, the same old lies that I'm gonna stop, everything changed, and she thought it was a matter of stopping, which I didn't understand either, because I didn't know anything about that. I just told her I'm gonna stop, but I never did. I would sneak off.
Were you thinking about stopping, or you were?
I was thinking about stopping, but I noticed when I used to go for a month or maybe a couple of weeks, because I started going to college. I go, I told her I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get a good degree or something. So I started going to college over there in San Jose at West Valley College, and every time I used to because they used to give me money from college. There was a lot of programs there for financial assistance. And then there was even a work program, and I used to work, and they used to give me cash money, and I used to go every Friday. I noticed I would go to my friend's house and get some heroin, and go home, and she won't know she won't know, because I got away for a long time like that, for about 3 or 4 years.
And that was the same woman who saw you in the bathroom?
Same one. Yeah, she has my kids. My 2 girls. I thought that was my kid, but
so you had the
found
kids?
out one of them wasn't.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, but
so you had the kids with that woman?
I had one, the first one, when I was young. Yeah, she's lives in Gilroy.
It's a daughter?
Yeah, that's my daughter.
And how old were you when she was born?
I was like 18, 19.
Wow, young.
Yeah. Yeah, because she got pregnant when I was like 17, and then we had the baby at, actually she got pregnant when I was like 18. Then she got the baby when I was like 19, close to 20. I was gonna be 20 actually.
So you had the second daughter that you thought it was yours?
Yeah, I had a second daughter from there, and
how did you find out it wasn't yours?
through my first daughter. She had told me that some lady was writing her, that she might be her sister, that they had did the heredity website, and she found out that she had sisters, and she called my other daughter in Oklahoma City, because that's where they moved down to. My ex-wife took my daughters down to Oklahoma City, in Oklahoma, because she said she didn't want me nothing to do with them. Want me to be with them or to have nothing to do with them. So she was writing my other daughter, and my other daughter said she took a test and she found out she was, and then this one over here in Gilroy took a test too, and she found out that she was not her sister.
So so you were still with your wife?
No, the one in Oklahoma City, no.
No, the one you find out that wasn't your daughter? You were?
No, we were divorced way back when I was started selling heroin.
Oh, okay. Did you get married?
Yeah, we were separated.
Did you get married again after?
No, I just kept messing around with other women. Yeah, I never got married again. That was back when I was 23, 24, 22.
Do you think that she didn't know that you were using, or she just didn't want to? She was like,
After a while, she did find out, because she already knew how I used to, how it used to affect me. I'd be sleeping, nodding. Yeah, she knew after a while.
yeah. So did you want to quit at some point?
Not really. I didn't
You
really
never
think
want to
about.
quit?
I didn't think about quitting. No. No, I just got divorced from her. Well, we didn't get divorced. We got separated. And then I was, like I said, I was 24, 25. And what happened is that I was living with my mom and dad in Morgan Hill, because that's where me and my ex-wife were living. But I remember my mom and dad were gonna move to San Jose, and they asked me if I could help them, and I said yeah. But I decided to go and use that day, and I went to go and use, and I had a girlfriend. Her name was Angela. Pretty thing too, but she used to be a heroin addict too. Long black hair and real pretty. Anyway, I got together with her, and I used to mess around with her, and then one day I was in Morgan Hill. My parents were moving out. I told Angela if she wanted to come with me, I'm gonna get some heroin. And she said, where are you gonna get it from? I go, I'm gonna go make some money. Because I had already scoped this place out where I was gonna break into. And I had a connection that was buying electric typewriters, because they were really popular in those days. This was back in the 70s. Electric typewriters were really popular.
Really?
Yeah, people would buy them like pancakes. And I remember this place had about maybe 5 of them. It was an insurance place. It was a big office, and I looked through the window and I said, wow, there's a lot of money in there.
Yeah.
So I had told Angela, I already know where I'm going. I know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
I had already scoped exactly where I'm gonna get in and how I'm gonna get in there.
Yeah.
I had it all planned. I knew I was gonna do it, because I was good at what I was doing all the time, which was, I used to always think it was a blessing from God that He gave me that. But that's kind of, that's another story, because I was always trying to find God. But anyway, I already knew what I was doing, and I knew I was going to do it, so I told Angela, do you want to go with me? I'm going to make a lot of money. And she said, yeah, let's go. And then we did it. I broke in. I got all the typewriters. I went straight to the connection for the typewriters. He must have given me about $500, $100 for each typewriter. I bought a 1/4 ounce of heroin, and we did it all night, me and Angela. You know, we were messing around and doing and messing around and doing. Yeah. So it was a party all night, me and Angela. And I woke up. Well, no, didn't even wake up. Didn't even go to sleep. Got up. We were just laying down. And I told Angela I gotta go help my parents. So I got in the car, and I went to Morgan Hill. My parents had already took off, because you know I was always late for everything. When I tell somebody something, and they would tell me, yeah, okay, we'll wait for you. And I told my parents that too. That's why my ex-wife would go through that too. But I wasn't very dependable. Anyway, they had already gone to San Jose, so I said to Angela, I'm going to San Jose. And she goes, you're gonna go to San Jose? And she goes, well, aren't you gonna get some sleep or something? And I go, no, I'm feeling good. I feel good.
Yeah.
So I went to San Jose. I had a couple of dart bombs and volumes that I had got from this detox program, because I used to go and get these pills that they give you to get you loaded. They get you loaded, so that would help you before you get loaded, so you could go out and steal. So I used to get them. And I had them that day, and I went to Morgan Hill. I stopped in Morgan Hill. I got a can of beer to drop the dart bombs and the volumes, and we took off to San Jose. I never made it. Crashed. I was going on the northbound lanes. There was 2 lanes going northbound, and there was a southbound lane. There was no divider. And I went on the southbound lanes, and I hit head on with another car, and I woke up in the hospital. and lights were out for me because I don't remember what happened. You know, from that point when I got the beer to the point where I ended up in the hospital, I don't know what happened. I really don't. I wish I did know, but I don't know. I just read in the newspaper. That's where I found out that I was swerving. It said in the newspaper that the car was swerving, hitting the guardrail, hitting the other guardrails because there was guardrails in between once in a while. And but then sometimes when you go more down, there was nothing. So I went on one of those where blank spots where there was nothing, so you could turn. So I just went on one of those and got on the opposite side of the freeway going northbound, and they were going southbound, and I went head on with another car and woke up in the hospital, and the detectives were waiting when I woke up because I was in a coma, and I think I was in a coma for 2 days, and then there was a nurse there, and I asked her what happened, and she said, "You're in the hospital." I go, "What happened?" She goes, you were in an accident." And I go, "Well, what happened?" And she goes, "Well, I can't say any more than that. There's some officers, they've been waiting for the last 2 days to talk to you." And I said, "Okay, well, let's talk to them." She went and asked them to come in, and they told me what happened, that I went on the other side of the freeway, and it was a head-on collision, her going 65, me going another, because my body was already asleep, so I must have been going about 65, 70, and we went head-on, and she got killed instantly. So they were getting me for manslaughter, felony manslaughter.
So there was, so that happened, how old were you?
I was 20, gonna be 26 actually, because I got separated with, well, I was already separated with my ex-wife. We were just off and on, you know, one of those, well, probably not you, but you know, one of those relationships that you go in and out, in and out, in and out, and you always make false promises that you're gonna stop, but you never did. So we went on like that for 3 years, and finally the last one was maybe when I was 25, and then that I had that accident.
So what happened after the accident? Did you go back home, or? After
the accident, I had busted my kneecap. Not really busted it. I guess when I hit it, the radio dial, they said, went into my knee and chipped a little bit of the knee, but didn't injure it to where I would probably not have no problem with it. But they had to put a cast in it. So I had a cast on when I got out of the hospital. So I was on crutches. I went, and my parents were already in San Jose. They had already moved to San Jose, so I went and lived with them in San Jose. Yeah, and Angela wanted me to go and live with her in Morgan Hill, but I said nah, because I don't know. I feel kind of bad about that because, you know, she really was kind of wanting to be with me all the time. She would go all the way from Morgan Hill to San Jose to visit me, and she would come, and my mother didn't want nothing to do with it. My mom was one of those old traditional kind of people.
Religious kind of?
Religious and real hard. She believed that, you know, you shouldn't be with somebody that has a lot of kids. Angela had like 4 kids. And she believed in, you know, you shouldn't be using drugs, and she knew Angela used drugs. She knew everything, so she figured. Moms always think if you don't hang around with the people that are causing you problems, maybe you might change. Right. That's what my mom probably thought.
So after you moved with your parents, you recovered.
Yeah, but I was still on crutches.
Yeah, were you still using?
Yeah, I started using. Right after I got out of the hospital, I had that little bit of money because the money left over from that job. Yeah, I didn't spend it all. I had a little bit. So I got some money and I got the bus. And it was really weird because I could see now that I'm an addict because I was on crutches. And when you get on crutches, you can't really move that far. I mean, you could go from here to the door, or maybe from here to, you know, a couple of feet, but you can't really go like a block or 2 blocks. But I used to do that, and I noticed I was tired all the time because I had to go get some heroin. So I knew then that something was wrong with me. I just had gotten wrecked, and I said something's wrong here, because I was told that there is a God, and here I am doing the same thing over and over. And I remember I kind of reminisced about me and my mom when she got in an accident, and then I was reminiscing when I got in that accident and how God intervened. And that man told me, because I met a man in the hospital, he told me that God intervened in that I should have been dead, but somehow or another I was spared. And you have a purpose, and there's a purpose why you're here, and there's a purpose why you lived and she died. And you know, you can't blame yourself for what happened. You just gotta change. And he told me a lot of stuff, but I didn't. I just kept on using. But it was getting like, the pressing truth was really coming down on me this time. I was starting to see something's going on that's not right. Yeah. So I started using, and I used till about 2 more years, and then I got busted again. But this time I went to jail. The first time when I went to jail, I didn't go to jail. I just went to because the cops told me that I did that with the lady, and they said, okay, all you have to do is go down to the police station or the sheriff's department, get yourself fingerprinted, and then just end up and going to court. And then they'll give you a date. And I went to court to the whole scenario. They had 5 felonies: felony drunk driving, felony reckless driving, felony manslaughter, felony 2 counts, a felony endangering the life, because I had a passenger, Angela. She had a passenger, her boyfriend or friend or husband, I don't know. They never told me. So they had 5 counts of felony on me that when I went to court, the judge said, "This is serious, Mr. Navarro." And I said, okay. So I was feeling really bad that I said right away, I'm guilty. Because I felt really bad what I did. I really did. I was really in remorse of what I did. In fact, I was in the hospital and I actually felt remorse. That's why I asked the priest to come and talk to me. But then I ended up going through the whole thing with the court, and the cop, when he went to the scene, he smelled the alcohol because I dropped the dar bombs with the beer. So he assumed that I was on alcohol. In those days, back in the early 70s, I guess. No, this was late 70s. 76. Yeah, 70. Anyway, they didn't have too much of their technology about that time.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. You could be drunk or wasting on drugs.
Yeah, so they were looking for a drunk. They were looking for, he smelled the alcohol. So he tested me for alcohol. He told the nurse or whoever he told to test me on alcohol. They tested me, and by the time I got to court, when I went to court, they said, hey, what happened? You weren't drunk. So they really asked me what happened. And I told them, I lied. I really did. I lied, and I told them, after, I told the judge I'm guilty. He said, no, I'm not going to let you do that. You're going to have to see a lawyer. And then after the lawyer and the two weeks went by, I finally figured out I don't want to go to jail. So I lied, and I told them that I must have fallen asleep. And my parents were moving, and it was all truth because they could see the record that my parents were living in Morgan Hill the time of the accident, and they were moving to Morgan Hill, and they ended up in Morgan Hill during that time period. So they seen that I was telling the truth, and I told them, yeah, I was helping my parents from Morgan Hill to San Jose, and I was tired, and I fell asleep, and I must have fallen asleep on the wheel. So anyway, long story short, they dropped all 5 felonies, and they got me for misdemeanor manslaughter. They got my license for 3 years, and they gave me probation and let me go. I didn't even go to jail one day. But this time, when I got busted this last time, I was looking at, I had already gotten 3 or 4 DUIs. I had gotten that, because he suspended some sentence from that accident, the misdemeanor manslaughter. I think it was a 2-year suspended sentence. He said, I'm just going to suspend that sentence, you don't have to go to jail. And then I had an assault, because I got in a fight, and I hit a guy with a beer bottle over the head. But I was looking at those and a petty theft with a prior because I was always stealing. You know, that was how that's what I was, you know, actually doing for my addiction is I was stealing a lot. So I had a petty theft with a prior which carried 2 or 3 years in jail. So I had all these charges and I was looking at 5 to maybe 7 years in jail. But they offered me, when I went to court for this last time when I got busted, they asked me, well, not me, I asked my sister to help me, and she sent a guy to talk to me.
Yeah.
He talked to me about a recovery home.
Mm.
And I said, recovery home, what is that? He goes, that's a place where people help themselves. I go, I don't know what that means. What does that mean? He goes, you go there and you try to figure out what is your problem. And I go, I don't have a problem. He goes, yes, you do. I go, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, you've been in trouble with a lot with alcohol and drugs. And I go, yeah, I've been in trouble, but if you notice on my record here, there's no convictions. And he goes, that doesn't mean nothing.
Hmm.
I thought it did mean something because, you know, nobody ever convicted me on drugs or alcohol. And so I figured I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I mean, I was already lying to myself and in denial, but he said, you have a problem. But anyway, he talked me to go into the recovery home. He said, if you go to this recovery home, this is what really triggered my decision. He said, if you go to this recovery home, they'll let you go on a pass. If you go to this recovery home, all these charges that you have, maybe 5 years at the most in prison,
Mm-hmm.
they'll drop everything. They'll clean your record.
Yeah.
If you go to this recovery home, you'll learn your problem
Yeah.
if you're really honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a co-ed, and I was thinking, co-ed, all right, women. I was already divorced, and I was getting hot tamale because you know, when you stop heroin, it kind of slows down your sex drive, and when you get clean, it's like, man, you wake up with a heart on every morning.
Mm.
So he said girls, and I said, all right, let's go. And that's what made my decision. That's why I decided. So that was back in August 1983.
Wow. So you went to recovery home, and
Yeah.
how long did you stay there?
9 months, actually 10, because they said that I was doing something that I wasn't supposed to be doing, that I was manipulating people.
Were you?
Yeah, I was, but I wasn't copied to it, which I was good at. Like I said, I was good at what I used to do. I used to steal, I used to rob, I used to go in the store and come out. Because in those days, they didn't have these cameras, they didn't have these little tags that you put on stuff, you know, when you go out the door.
Yeah.
They didn't have all that. You just talk to somebody, and I used to tell these people, I used to walk in with a bag in back of my back, walk in the bag, and then take out the bag. Once I was in the store, it was a big shopping store, so it was a big like a Kohl's or maybe Sears, and I would fill up this bag with a lot of expensive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would walk to the clerk or the customer service and tell them I bought this stuff here and I don't want it anymore. Can you give me my money? And they used to give me about $200 back without even no receipt, because in those days they used to give you stuff back without no receipt.
Hmm.
But they never see me walking out with it because I didn't have to walk out with it.
Yeah.
There's most people used to go, and I used to notice that they were walking out and they would get busted, and I would say, I gotta think of something where I don't get busted. So I would just stay in the store, get the stuff, put it in the bag, walk around the store like I had it, and then go to customer service.
Return it. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. But anyway, I got busted for petty theft a couple of times. So anyway, I got busted one time, and then I got busted again. So that's a petty theft with a prior, and that carries about 1 or 2 years with the prior, because you've been busted already, and they know you're stealing, so they got to do something. So that's why I ended up in the recovery home. And that was my last day of using. I didn't even know I was going to stop using, to tell you the truth. I did not know.
So what happened?
I went to this recovery home, and I remember I woke up and they said, because they had a PA, and the PA would announce something like, PA, you're leaving, PA, we're gonna have this morning, everybody's got, it would say everything. So I heard my name, Gilbert Navarro, you're leaving. And I heard it and I woke up and I go, did they say my name? And then I turned to my neighbor, because we have bunks, like dormitories, and I asked them, did they say my name? He goes, yeah, they called your name and you're leaving. And I go, I'm leaving. I thought I was gonna look at some time. So this person, this liaison guy that I had talked to, he talked to the judge, he talked to my lawyer, he talked to everybody. So when they made that decision, and I said, yeah, I want to go to recovery home, they had made it where I don't have to do any jail time, I would go to recovery home.
Okay.
And I went to a recovery home, and I went there and I started hearing stuff like I'm talking about right now, how they ended up going to this place, how they changed, how they stopped using drugs. And I started hearing something that maybe I could do that. And that's where the attraction came in. It was basically NA. I heard the attraction, but there was also AA, because in those days, back in the 80s, they didn't have too much meetings in NA. The people from San Fernando were really opening up meetings in Berkeley and San Francisco and San Jose and here in Santa Cruz. So there wasn't too many meetings, so I started going to a lot of AA meetings, but mostly NA. And I heard that, one day at a time, you don't have to use for that one day. It's just one day, that's all you have to do, just one day at a time. And I figured I was already doing one day, so I figured, why not do it again? And I do it again, and the next day I do it again, and I say to myself, I'm not gonna use today, because if I feel like this, I'm gonna use tomorrow. And then tomorrow came, I didn't use, and it went like that. And finally, I got in touch with a God. Like I said, I had already experienced God, and I asked him if he could help me, and it lifted. The compulsion and the obsession to use drugs was lifted. I didn't feel like using them. I think that happened after 60 days that I was there.
Wow. So what year was it? 1983, you said?
83, yeah. Yeah, I got there in August 31st, and in 1983, yeah.
So for 43 years, you haven't had any alcohol or drugs?
Yeah, 43 years, haven't had any. Well, going on 43, in August it'll be 43. It's actually 42.
It's 2026.
Yeah,
in August.
but in August it'll be 43. So yeah, so that's my journey. And then I did get in touch with God, because I didn't tell you about the full impact of the story. I met with George in the hospital, and it was a late night. I was feeling really bad of what I did in that wreck. I killed somebody. That's not a very likely thing that you could say, oh, okay, I got drunk and that's okay. I had made a fool out of myself, or I did this and I did that. My girlfriend got mad or my wife got mad. It wasn't one of those things. It was something that I killed somebody.
Yeah.
And I felt really, I felt really like bad. So I asked the nurse if she could ask the priest to come and visit me, because I need to talk to him. I thought that the priest would help me, and he didn't help me. He just told me to say 10 Hail Marys, 10 Our Fathers, and make a record.
Pause. Adriana.
Hi.
Hi, I'm recording.
Oh, sorry.
What is it?
Hi. Oh, nothing. I was just calling to say hi.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Let's keep going.
Okay, so
Sorry about that.
so anyway, because I really believe that God is a comforter. I really did. I figured the way I was feeling like I was falling into this big black hole, like it was really sucking me in, and I was feeling like I was losing my mind. And I don't know, I never felt like that in my whole life.
Yeah.
Even when I used to steal, I used to feel bad, but I never felt this bad. So I asked for a priest, and the priest came and he talked to me. He gave me these prayers to say, the Our Father, the Hail Marys. He told me to make restitution. He talked to me a little bit, but he didn't give me any comfort. So I was just laying there the same way that I was feeling when he came. And then all of a sudden, because in the hospital they have these drapes that go across the beds, so you won't see, no, the drapes, like they separate the dividers.
Yeah.
So I remember I had these drapes and I couldn't see who was in the other room or the other bed, or I couldn't see anything. I just seen the drapes here. So the drape opened after the priest arrived, and there was a man named George, and he talked to me about God. He told me that God had already died for my sins. God had already knew that I was gonna do what I did. God was already with me from the very beginning, where I don't even remember He was with me. He was already with me, but I didn't realize He was with me. He made a lot of sense, and I was thinking, He caught my attention. I started listening to Him, and I go, wow, I don't even know, maybe He was in the program, because I never knew a man. Like I said, my grandfather used to get on his knees and pray. This man said, I'm gonna pray for you. After he finished talking and telling me about this and how God already paid for our sins, and God already had made this plan that I was gonna stay and that lady was gonna go, he made that ultimate decision. And he said, I'm gonna get down on my knees and pray with you. And I looked at him, I go, man, this man is getting down on his knees. He doesn't even know me. Why would he do that? But we prayed, and he said a prayer that, something about, I offer myself to thee, I open my heart, my soul, my body to thee. And he went on and gave me this beautiful prayer. And I felt good. I felt really good. I fell asleep after he left. I felt at peace. And I felt so good that, I didn't see him for like 2 or 3 days, because, the dividers were always there and we weren't able to see. Maybe when they bring the food in or visitors came, my mom and dad, and they would sit around the drapes and stuff. But 2 or 3 days they let me out, and I wanted to talk to him again, because that feeling was going away.
Yeah.
And I went, and I was getting ready, and I was getting dressed, and then I got dressed, and I went, and I looked, and I took the drapes out, everything. I could see the whole room. There was a bed over there, and there was nobody in the bed. And then I go, wow, he's not there. So I went and I asked the nurse at the nurse station. I go, hey, can I talk to that gentleman that was in the bed on the other side of me? And she said, what man? I go, the man. There's a man there. 2 nights ago, he came. His name was George. I go, his name was George. She goes, well, I can't really give you information on that. That's why I said what man, because I can't disclose any information. And I go, well, I just want to talk to him. He came and talked to me. He's the one that came and talked to me, so why can't I talk to him? She goes, because we have a confidential policy on him. I can't tell you nothing. And I go, well, can you tell me where he's at? And she goes, no, I can't say nothing. And I go, I was starting getting upset. And I go, okay, so where is he at? And she goes, I just finished telling you, I can't say nothing. And she goes, well, anyway, what I could say is there's no way that man that you're talking about could have gone to your bed and said what you were saying, that he was talking to you and he walked over and he got on his knees and all that stuff. Because I told her the whole stuff that he did. And she said, there's no way, because that man was very ill. In fact, all I'm going to tell you is he's in intensive care. Right? That's all I'm going to tell you. Wow. So I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
That blew me away. But I didn't change. It just, I got more scared, really. I got more scared, really. That's why I went on to use, because I didn't know how to do. I didn't know, when I get scared, I don't know what to do but run. When I get happy, I don't know what to do but get loaded again. I didn't know what to do with that, so I just got loaded.
So can you say from perspective of time where you're at right now, the life is much, much better now than it used to be?
Oh yeah, it is much better.
Yeah.
It is definitely much better. Like I said at the beginning, I had never had a relationship with God. I never knew that God existed. I kind of thought it was a myth, a word that people use to try to make things right with themselves. You know, I just thought, but now I live that life. I feel that presence of God working in my life because I'm an addict. I used to take drugs for any little reason. My whole lifestyle was using drugs, living for drugs, and doing drugs. That was my life.
So
But now I don't do
what
that.
would be like the worst day that you would describe for you using, like actually taking drugs? What would be the
Worst day
days?
was right there where I wrecked that lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the worst day. That I can never pick a worse day than that day. That was a really horrible day. To wake up in the hospital.
So would you think that that would be like the rock bottom that you hit at that point? That's
Yeah, I
something
think
that
it- I
kind
think
of
it was a-
turning point in your life.
I think it was you know how you plant a seed and
Yeah.
you tilt the soil?
Yeah.
I think it was a tilting of the soil that was
Yeah.
getting ready to fertilize and plant the seed.
Yeah.
Because it was getting ready.
Yeah.
And it took me another 2 years to actually plant that seed so it could start growing. And I think that's once I got that plant seed in the recovery home,
Yeah.
I was on my way.
So from your story, my gathering is that in some cases have legal action taken for drug addicts, like for stealing or getting caught using or committing any kind of crimes, right?
Right.
It gives them opportunity, right, to
Right.
look at themselves at least at some point
Yes.
in life, because they have to stand in front of the judge, right, and hear and put that option A for you to go to recovery home or to do time. And there was a point, turning point, because you didn't want to do time, but you were not expecting to quit using drugs at that point.
No.
So initially you agreed to go to recovery home because you didn't want to do time.
I didn't.
And then when you got to recovery home, you realized that people there who not using, and you were like, okay, maybe if I do what they do, maybe there's chance for me to stop using.
Correct.
Let me try it.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Gilbert, and everybody who watched this video. This was part 2. It's a living testimony of man who changed his life around. Thank you.